Yeah, welcome to part 3 of this, my presentation titled, What is Marriage? Another Perspective, the Mystic Philosopher. If you did not watch part 1 and part 2 in the said order, I strongly suggest or recommend that you do so before you continue watching this part 3. I will now continue by looking on the definition of the word marriage as given by dictionary.com. Second definition from section 1. Marriage is a religiously or a socially sanctioned union of persons who commit to one another, forming a familial and economic bond. Anthropologists say that some type of marriage has been found in every society, past and present. Unquote. First, I would like you to note from this definition that marriage is a religiously or a socially sanctioned union of persons who commit one to another. In other words, either your religion gave you permission to be religiously married, or your society, meaning your community or your family, give you permission or consent to get married. The important thing to note, however, is that unless the government, the powers that be, sanction your marriage or your business, it is not considered a legal marriage or a legal business under the law. I also want you to note the phrase union of persons who commit to one another. Persons mean more than one. Therefore, your religion, as in the case of ancient Israel, in the case of Islam, in the case of the Mormons religion, up until recently, etc., or your family, your community, your culture may sanction and give you, any of these religions may sanction or and give you permission to be married to more than one person. Marriage to more than one person is also called group marriage. However, under the current Western system of government, you can only be legally married to one person as it stands right now. Again, even though you might be very religious or very highly religious, and even though your pastor, your church, your community and others may put pressure on you to get married, or they might even pick and arrange your partner for you. The fact is that according to the definition of this definition, a real marriage is all about the accumulation or accumulating wealth. The accumulation of wealth or accumulating wealth. It's all about the money. It's all about the money, wealth, a real marriage. In fact, there is even marriage that is known as marriage of convenience. And what are marriage of convenience? Well, by definition, a marriage of convenience is a marriage that is entered into for what? For monetary or social gain. Examples of marriage of convenience. Marriage of convenience marriage of convenience are people who may get into get married or let me repeat that. Examples of marriage of convenience or marriage of convenience are people who may marry to someone just to get their legal landed status in a country. We are aware of those things happening. Up till recently, the government has cracked down on that sort of things, trying to avoid maybe too much of it were happening, or just the way the government works. So that's just one example of a marriage of convenience, at least from my perspective. In some marriage of convenience, a woman or a man may just want to have what they call a mixed child to model with. So they get married for that, and that's it. Here after the marriage never worked. That's just one example. A model child. There are also some very contaminated, what I refer to as some very contaminated victims of severe inferiority complex and mentally twisted-minded high melanin men and women, also known as black people, of African descent, who marry Caucasians. Why? Because they feel as if it is a social gain, and that now they are more socially accepted. The very insolent and disgraceful term that I have personally heard with my own ears, some of these ignoramuses in their true manifestations of their buffoonery used to describe their feelings of accomplishment, is the term step up. Now that they marry a Caucasian, they say they step up in life. Now that they have married to a Caucasian, that is, these idiots think is a white person. They think of a Caucasian being white. They now think and say that they have stepped up in life. So that's the part that is called, as my definition of being socially accepted. Then there are those marriage of convenience where a man may marry the pastor's daughter, or a woman may marry the pastor's son, just to advance their own future ambitions. There are some people that are in marriages today that never had sex or rarely have sex. That is, not even part of the arrangement. Marriage of convenience. There are people, pastors and all, in many of these churches and religious organizations and even politics, etc., that are only presenting themselves as front for marriage or for sexual marriage, for as if they are, to fool the general public, right? But behind the scene, they wouldn't touch each other with a 10-foot pole. And why do I see all of these things? In fact, we see a lot of these things in politics. Sometimes people wonder why the husband don't leave the man, the wife don't leave the husband because he cheating them. You see it happening in the States, in New York. We see all these guys having, different relationships with prostitutes, with all different types of people and things, with people in general. And when they are busted, right, who you see standing beside them? Their wives or their wife. Why? Because they understand that the main thing about this marriage is not about, maybe sex as most people think they know it, or love as most people think they know it. It's a business. These women are thinking, and these men, they have the arrangement. They are planning for the future. One thing to note is that most of these men, all of these guys, these big politicians and religious people who are in power or have authority with the system, that are accused and are caught what they call cheating or having affairs with many different women, etc., whether online or elsewhere, phone sex or whatever. One thing you must note is that you don't hear that they have a whole heap of love child or a whole heap of kids scattered all about the place. No! Part of the marriage arrangement is to keep it in the family. They will screw around everybody else, but you won't see them getting pregnant for them. They are more than careful when it comes to that, because they have their family, they have their future, they know what marriage is all about. A business! And I don't want to stray from my point. So, where am I now? So marriage for convenience, there are some people that marry today, I did mention that. And why do I say all these things and point out these facts? It's just to prove to you, my friends, that marriage is a business. Definition 2 of marriage. 2a. Marriage is a social institution under which a man and a woman establish their decision to live as husband and wife by legal commitments, religious ceremonies, etc. Unquote. Now, because of most people's religious teachings, most people's doctrines and beliefs, they are led to think and to believe that a woman called a wife in a conjugal marriage is that the woman is the man's helper, that a woman is a man's servant, or that a woman is inferior, and is, as a result, a woman is a man's slave. That is pretty much the interpretation of Western religion, Western Christianity. That a woman is a man's helpmate. And that the man is the head of the household. The man is the head of the family and the leader of the house. And as such, even if or when the man is possibly the biggest, I would refer to as the biggest jackass in a suit and tie or any other clothing, gown or whatever they may want to wear, even if the man is the biggest jackass that is walking around on 2 foot or 2 feet, the woman is expected and is obligated to listen to him. She should obey him and follow him and his every move, his every order, submissive to him. From my perspective, that is far, far, far from the truth. And that is to say it quite mildly. In fact, I mentioned Christian religion. In accordance to the Christian Bible, I read in the book of First Titus, or rather Titus 2 and 4 to 5, verse 4 to 5. And I quote, "And so train your young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled." Unquote. In 1 Timothy, the same Bible, chapter 5 and 14, I also read, "Therefore," and I quote, "Therefore, I want younger widows to get married, bear children, keep house," unquote. And finally, in 1 Timothy 2 and verse 15, I also read, "But women will be saved, or women will be preserved through the bearing of children if they continue in faith and love and sanctity with self-restraint," unquote. Now, from my perspective, this is not only unfair to women, but it is rubbish. And if I was looking for a business partner and find a woman that was willing to submit her wit, submit her ambition, submit her intelligence, submit her mind and intellect to my will in accordance to these scriptures that I've just read to you from the Bible, the Christian Bible, then I would have nothing to do with such a fool for a life business partner. Nor would I intentionally train, nor will I intentionally train any of my daughters to stand behind some man and to be their fools. If or when you understand that marriage is a business, and a very serious business at that, then you will know that a woman in a marriage is not a helper. She's not your slave, but that she is a partner and that she should be treated as such. You see, the problem is that people don't understand the idea that marriage is a business. And when you're talking about business, you will find, for example, if you're serious about business, you would want to go to one of the best business schools. People who have been to Harvard, for example, will be more likely to succeed in the world, in this system, than a person who just take a crash course on business entrepreneurship at a community college or at a high school adult training program. These are the people in management. These are the people who run the businesses and the corporations of this world. These who have gone to these universities to train about, to learn all the intricacies of how business work and function. So if you don't understand that marriage is a business and start to treat it and approach it as business, then don't keep praying and fasting about your marriage and want it to work. It just won't work. So your woman, your partner, a wife in a business, or your partner, she's your partner. It's not even a wife. The word wife means helper. She's your partner, or partners, as we shall see later, as equal partner. So on the contrary, it is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time that if she's not, okay, let me repeat it. If or when you understand that a marriage is a business, and a very serious business at that, then you will know that a woman in a marriage is not a helper, but she is a partner, and that she should be treated as such, as an equal partner. On the contrary, it is just a matter of time that you will realize that your marriage or your business is bound to fail if it is not already a failed business or a failed marriage. That is dying, slowly dying. That very slow, torturous, and agonizingly painful death. Marriage. Second definition. Marriage, a similar institution involving partnership of same sex. It is B. A similar institution involving partners of the same gender, as in gay marriage or same-sex marriage. Now, some people are so caught up with this same-sex marriage issue that they can't even sleep at nights. They can't even have a reason or a conversation without bringing up the issue of homosexuality and same-sex marriages or same-sex marriage. They preach against it. They march against it. They talk about it. They get upset about it. They are angry over it. They protest in the name of it, or you name it. They are resentful about it. They hate each other over it and are even physically fighting and killing each other over same-sex marriage. Now, from my perspective, only when we know and truly understand, and let me repeat, only when we know and truly understand the meaning of the English word marriage and the fact that marriage is a business and a very serious business, then and only then will we realize that same-sex couples or same-gender couples are entitled just like anyone else, any one of us, to be married too. For if marriage is a business, then doesn't everyone has the right to start, to own, to operate, and to do business in the system? If marriage is a business, then why should we want to try and exempt homosexuals from having their own business? In fact, Some of the biggest corporations, possibly multi-billion-dollar corporations, are either owned or operated by homosexuals. Behind the scene, they are the accountants, the lawyers, the organizers, the planners, the designers. Most of the companies that most people who hate these people are working for. If it wasn't for these people because of their sexual orientation or what, if it wasn't for them, most people wouldn't have a job. From my perspective, only when we know and understand that marriage is a business and a very serious one, and only when we know and understand that it takes what it takes to start, own, and organize, to manage and to operate a business for ourselves, only then will we realize that same-sex marriage is none of our damn business. From my perspective, same-sex marriage should only become our interest or our business if we are ourselves homosexuals or homosexually inclined. Other than that, it's none of our business. Why the stress? Why the worry? Why the hatred? It's unnecessary. In fact, I remember in the Bible, I read where the man they call Jesus. Christians call him Jesus. Others refer to him as Yeshua. Anyhow, I remember some places said something to the effect that you should take the mote out of your eyes, or before you try to, look at yourself first before you and spend less time looking at others. My late mom, though she was not educated in accordance to the system's elite standard of education, but in her humble and common sense way, always told me to mind my own business. Mind your own business, she would say. And also said that if everybody would pay attention, mind their own business, this world might well be a better place. Incidentally, if you dissect the word business, you will see that it means busyness. Busyness. Meaning we should be occupied with our own activities, with our own concerns, our own personal business, our own affairs. So if we stop giving all the attention to other people's business, be they homosexuals or whoever, and give full attention to our own business, I can almost guarantee you that our business will be far more fruitful, far more productive and prosperous. Talking about minding your own business, just think of you driving a car on the highway, and instead of paying attention to where you're going, when to apply brakes, you start to look next door into the other people's vehicle to see who is there or what they're doing and stuff. You'll end up in somebody's back or end up off the road. You end up causing a major accident. And not only will you kill the damn self, but you're going to hurt other people too. So let us keep our eyes on our own business. So if you stop giving attention to other people's business, be they homosexual or whoever, and give more attention to yours, I can assure you that your business is far more productive. So, to all you pastors and others that are preoccupied with preaching and condemning homosexuals, I would suggest that you leave them alone. Let them take care of their own business. And by the way, from my observation, the evidence will show that they are doing an excellent job taking care of their own business. And give time, you should stop paying attention to them and give time to taking care of your own marriage, or marriages, or your own business. I know some of you will or may say, or may be saying and thinking that by preaching against homosexuality and attacking them, and whatever, resenting them, etc., and fearing them, blah, blah, blah. I know the doctrine, I know what you're saying, that you're doing God's business in preaching and condemning sin. By preaching and condemning your perception or what is sin, you are doing God's business. I know the doctrine, I've heard it before. But I would suggest that human cannot do God's business. And please notice that anytime human try to interfere with God's business, it only causes serious disasters. Therefore, I suggest that you leave God's business alone. God will and God should take care of his or her or its own business. As a natural native earthly human, my God tells me that if a thing is natural, rather, if a thing is normal, it will only last for a while. It's just temporary. If anything that is normal is temporary. However, if a thing is natural, meaning it is of nature, then it will last forever. And nature, my God tells me, nature is not in any rush to judgment. It's not in any rush to condemn. So there is nothing for me or for my God to worry about other than to take care of our business. Now, one of the reasons that I think it is possible that some same-sex marriage or same-sex business may be stronger and far more successful than that of some homosexual, some rather than some heterosexual marriages or business, is that some men might be prone to treating each other with more respect and dignity and as their equal than they would to a woman. Some women might be able to get equal treatment from each other than from some men. For example, if or when two men have an argument of serious disagreement on any subject, one man will not be quick-tempered or quick to tell the other man to shut up, let alone quick-tempered to raise his hand and hit him, unless he know for sure and know for fact that the other man is a wimp. And as a result of being a wimp, he wouldn't hit him back harder. Now, earlier I quote Section 2A, definition of marriage as the social institution under which a man and a woman establish their decision to live as husband and wife by legal commitments and religious ceremonies, etc. So what is a social institution? But before I define and talk about social institution, let me first answer the question, what is an institution, or what does the word institution means from the dictionary. Now, according again to dictionary.com, an institution is an organization, establishment, foundation, society, or the like devoted to the promotion of a particular cause or program, especially one of public, educational, or charitable character. This college is the best institution of its kind, as an example. Number 2, the building devoted to such work. 3, a public or a private place for the care or confinement of inmates, especially mental patients or other disabled or handicapped persons. 4, sociology, a well-established and structured pattern of behavior or of relationships that is accepted as a fundamental part of a culture, as marriage is the institution of the family. And 5, and final, any established law, custom, etc. Now, Unquote. Now, note, from these 5 definitions, we all should be able to see that all institutions are man-made. Tangible or intangible, they are the invention, the fabrication of man based on his own intellect and creativity. Institutions are established and establishment are designed for business and commerce. And it does not matter if it is a mental institution, a legal institution, financial institution, penal institution, hospital institution, charitable institution, slavery institution, government institution, religious institution, or marriage institution, you name it. And I'm telling you, it's a business. Institutions that are not doing commerce, not doing business, are making money, cannot stay in business. And those that try to stay in business without making any money, those that call themselves business or call themselves institution and try to stay in business without making money, are existing, they are just existing in suffering. Institutions are normal, but they are not natural. Why? Because, as I said before, there are no institutions in nature. Now, some say that marriage is the Lord's business. Marriage is God's business. Marriage is an institution made by the Lord. Marriage is an institution made by God, and that is okay to say that. I have no problem with you saying that. I have no problem with that statement, with that truth, or with that belief. But the question I ask is, which Lord and which God are these people talking about? Or whose Lord and whose God are they talking about? From my perspective, any Lord or God that is setting up institutions and establishment of any form is what I call a lesser Lord or a lesser God. And to be more blunt and specific, such a Lord or such a God is an inferior Lord or God. Such a Lord